client reviews and how to streamline that process. And today he's going to focus on referrals. Steve's actually, for the first time ever, I think, in Premier history, Steve is actually presenting from the Premier office. So he and I are sitting in the same room right now. I'm going to mute myself and turn it over to Steve. So thank you, Steve. Take it away.
Muted? Now I am. Yep. Awesome. Thank you so much, Sebastian. Thank you, everybody, for coming on. Nice to see some familiar names here. And again, welcome. Steve Bobo with Equitable's 1290 Funds, the advisory side of the business. And we'll talk about that towards the tail end here, but really want to discuss the main event, what you're all here for. And I would imagine something that everybody is looking for, which is how to be more effective in your referral practice. So I'm going to share my screen. If a brave soul can let me know when they can see it, that'll be great.
I can see it.
Awesome. Awesome. Let me move y'all here. Perfect. So quickly, just so you're all aware, right, you are seeing Franklin Templeton, a unique nature in terms of us with 1290 through our insurance partnerships. We have the great availability to partner with some top firms, Brandywine being one of them that is a subsidiary of Franklin Templeton. And the beauty about that relationship is we're able to tap into their educational vault. So you'll see this cross-branded partnership that's going to be detailing the psychology of referrals. And we're going to take a look at this from the client's perspective. So here's our agenda for today, right? I'm a sociology major, psych minor. Okay. Some would say that I majored in football, but that's neither here nor there. Just help me get the piece of paper. But we're going to look at it from that perspective of the client. And so all of you, I'm going to ask you put on, right, your Freudian hats and some aspect to really take a look at it. So we want to see exactly what has made the referral process so complicated, right? The way in which that we've put all the onus typically on the client. And that doesn't make them feel safe. That doesn't make them feel valued. And that doesn't necessarily speak greatly in terms of the experience in that they're having, right? And the last thing that we want to do is diminish our clients' confidence in all aspects of our meeting. So we'll get the show on the road about it, right? But when we think about how many of you, and shoot, sometimes I even still see myself, right, speaking about referrals. Because at the end of the day, right, there's always an opportunity, whether it's organically or for truly marketing ourselves, that we're looking to grow our business. And in theory, it's easy. It's simple. I'm a phenomenal advisor. You want to work with me because you need my professional opinion. You need my professional systems. And I can help you instead of relying on your own judgments and potential emotional decisions to get you to where you want to be in terms of your investing, right? So usually it should work this way. Who could use my services? Here's a list of everybody, right? Liquid assets, phone numbers, all of it. But in reality, it's complicated. You don't want to appear desperate. Is this awkward? Where are we on the level of, from an advisor-client relationship, that I should be or could be asking for a referral? And maybe most importantly, how's the client interpreting that, right? Am I responsible if this doesn't work? If I don't provide a referral, do I get the same service as someone who maybe does, right? How does the referral make me look as the client to you, the advisor? And maybe I refer you to a family member that has more assets, and now all of a sudden I get thrown to the back seat, right? So it really is complicated, truly. And as we think about ourselves, right, here's a sociology background, right? We're all social creatures. And that was never more evident than going through COVID, right? The fact that we weren't able to have human interaction, socialize with each other, it was an extreme cost that we all had to pay for, right? And the same can be said in the sense of a referral. When we look at this scale, there is nothing but social costs being placed onto the client. They are bearing all of the weight. And what we're going to talk about today is how to create some balance there. To not that it's just a cost to the client, but there'll be some sort of benefit to them. So as we think about this, right, when you ask in the traditional sense, as mentioned, all of the risk is on the client, all of it. Right? You're now somewhat employing a free employee to your business practice. They do all the work. They got to go through their phone, if they have a Rolodex, what have you, right? And they're generally doing it for free. And I don't know about all of you, but sometimes if it's free, I'll take 3, or if it's free, it's for me. But in that sense, where there's no benefit to you providing it, it's really not that motivating. So let's take a look at 3 pillars to what motivates a referral from the client's perspective. Now, this one literally always makes me laugh, but the very first one, right? Everybody wants to be an influencer. We're not talking TikTok or anything, but right, everybody wants it to be an influence on the folks around them. So that is the number one way that folks are motivated in this day and age, to be able to help those around them that they care about most. Secondly, a medal, right? A medal, a reward, something that's tangible, recognition for doing something good. And lastly, those tangible gifts. I'll give you a quick example. A team down in Delaware that I work with, they have a partnership with a local brewery, and they've created the Roth IPA. And an opportunity for them is when a client delivers them, let's say 6 referrals, they get a 6-pack of the Roth IPA. So again, something as simple as that in compliance. I'm not saying that they need to do this, right? Let's make sure we're keeping that safe here, but obviously check with them in terms of any gift giving. But again, when you can receive something for your work, it is going back to showing that, hey, you're being recognized for your efforts, and I appreciate you. And at the end of the day, on the back end, there being some sort of influence on those around them. Which leads into the second part. Folks just like helping people. I know you may think, and if you watch the news, you're absolutely going to believe that the world is just full of terrible people and terrible events, but we know that that's not the case. I know that in your book of business, you have some great-hearted folks that want to help others. So your clients, they will provide you referrals if they can be a center of influence, if they can feel and be recognized, and as well as helping other people that they care about. Last, it's you, right? They enjoy working with you, so they're going to want to help you. I mentioned before, right, Freudian, some of your ids and yourselves, and I'm not going to get too deep into it, right? Your egos are going to be hurt. You're not number one. I hate to break it to you, right? But you are on that list in terms of something that is important for clients that they will take into consideration when making a referral. And we'll remember Maslow. Not that I can see any of your hands, but I'm hoping that there's some head shaking and some smiles here. Right, being a former teacher, I know that this was something that we always looked at, right? And teaching special ed, our basic needs being taken care of, right? Are folks fed, clothed? Do they have a home, right? Are they sleeping efficiently? And now we're not going to talk about that per se, but when you think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, those basic needs still need to be met in a different perspective, right? And as we take care of those needs, which we'll talk about in just the next couple of slides here, right? That's when you can start to dive into these next levels where clients, they feel safe, that they'll move into right, having self-esteem, etc. So next section, right? Making it safe to give a referral. I'd ask if you could, inside the chat, put down a quick answer. Is it A or is it B? But what's most important to your clients, not you, right? What's most important for your clients? You believe it's structure or repetition? Best part of it, there's no wrong answer there, right? There's no wrong answer. But when we think about those things, having structure and repetition, that all kind of plays into, again, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Before, are these basic needs being taken care of? And we're not going to talk about from the financial perspective just yet, but do they have a good home, right? Are they warm in these winter months? Gosh, quick sidebar. I can't wait for spring. I'm literally just, I'm over this cold weather, but we'll talk about it another day, right? Are they eating healthy? Are they even eating at all, right? So these are all basic needs that we think about as humans that we may take for granted, being so blessed and where we live and what we do. But clients need to feel that. If you meet your client, is it in a drafty cafe? Right? I come into this beautiful office. There's birds chirping. Right? You don't have the market going crazy and just the dial going across the bottom and reds and greens and crazy noise. Right? It's calming. Birds are chirping. Well lit. It's warm. It's comfortable. These are all things that we may not think about, but clients do think about. And in order for you to get the most of your clients, to deepen those relationships, these are things that are going to matter, right? Are they offered water, something to eat? So it's just these simple things. So I asked that question before, right? What will help clients feel secure, right? Provide them those basic needs. I told you, there's no wrong answer. Right? It's going to be structure for some. It's going to be repetition for others. Right? We're creatures of habit. It's 21 days to build a habit. Yeah, it's 21 days to build a habit, right? 21 straight days. Being a former personal trainer, I always ask, hey, what can I do to lose weight before summer? Hey, get out and walk for 30 minutes every day. Just start there, right? Build a good habit to move your body. Right? That would be the repetition aspect. Then you move into the next phase of it. Hey, what's your structure look like? Maybe you incorporate some running 2 days a week. Okay. But the same can be said for your practices. What does your structure entail? When are you meeting with clients? Is that on a quarterly basis, like we talked about in Mastering the Client Review? Is that structure set up so that they know? And then are you following through on your repetition of ensuring that, hey, every quarter we're going to have a conversation, whether that's virtually or on the phone? We know that every year we meet in person. So it's just a couple of those aspects where you need to have some structure to create stability, and the repetition aspects that takes away all potential barriers. Because clients, they do have increased anxiety when they meet with financial advisors. So part of this, right? You need to set expectations. And in our surveys, right, with Franklin Templeton, these are the pieces that were most prominent and came to mind, right? What are the benefits? And we spoke about this in the last meeting, right? Can you articulate your value and your benefits of working with you? When it comes to whatever investment strategy, whether it's life insurance, annuity, 401k plan, DC, whatever it is, can you articulate clearly what the benefits are? What is the process going to look like? How many forms do we need to sign? When will the assets transfer over into the new account? From there, right, communication as another example. How often do you communicate? And then lastly, right, that value and cost. Is the juice worth the squeeze, in a sense? This, I think, might be the coolest and best visual that I think all advisors personally should be utilizing. All right, when you want to articulate your value, imagine if you could point to a roadmap such as this to hit on milestones that you've reached with your clients. Right, Mr. and Mrs. Tommy Bahama, do you remember when we purchased your first house? Right, you may not have been the one to drive that sale, but you were there for it. You were there through it. Right, little Tommy Jr. was born, and you started funding for college tuition, and now you can help them pay for their tuition. Then you're there for the big one, right? Retirement. It should be an exciting time. But again, when you can create a visualization for your clients of, hey, remember the journey that we've been on together. Again, you're creating a much deeper relationship with them, not just from the business perspective, but an emotional and psychological perspective of, hey, yeah, you know what, you've been there through some of the best and some of the worst times. So it's just a way for you to, again, articulate and show the benefits of working with you. So we talked about the communication aspect. You know, if you know that there's going to be quarterly statements that are sent out, right? If there's a transaction that's made, that a statement will come out. Do clients, are they aware of that? God bless my father, I love him, but you know, mention to him, hey, you're going to have a DCA program, and something that he purchased. And he's like, Steve, I got this other notice this month. What is this? I'm like, that it's you're going to get this notice. It's a DCA. You're constantly going to have cash coming in. It needs to show that, hey, this trade was made on your behalf, right? So are your clients aware of that? Is there a phone call that might accompany a quarterly statement? Do you have monthly newsletters? Right? In what way are you communicating, and are clients aware of it? And I think that's where we go back to that structure and repetition aspect to your business practices. What is being sent out? Are your clients aware that it's being sent out? And is there anything on the back end? As mentioned, with these quarterly statements, do you make that phone call to let them know that at least you're there? Right? When the market's ripping, it's great. They may not have any questions. But in recent times like this, it's so much better for you to reach out to your clients as the market's volatile, as opposed to waiting for their phone call. Right? Number one reason why clients will leave financial advisors is communication. Right? And that's something that we can all do, right, on our own. Just a matter of effort. Right? And then there's daily interactions nowadays on LinkedIn, social interactions, Facebook, what have you. Again, that's more of the compliance end of what you can and can't on that side of it. But right, you will have some sort of daily interactions. Big ones: review meetings, client events, seminars, surveys. Right, and this kind of gets us to this next level of creating these type of experiences. Right, when are you holding these review meetings? Is it once a year? Are you holding client events? Not maybe for your A's, but are you holding anything for your B's and C's? Right? These seminars, those that aren't clients, right? And lastly, surveys. Are you gaining feedback? As we think about from the other side of it, not just from the client side, but I think you all can agree, as you speak to your clients, you're not just a financial advisor. You're a friend. You're a psychiatrist in some situations. Right? You're just a pal. Right? You have the ability to be a huge influence on their lives. Right? You work with other business professionals, and I know for myself, in my role, I want to be that individual to where all of you, hey, I have a client that's coming over. We're looking to move some assets. Steve, what do you think? Right? I want to be that center of influence, and your clients, they can utilize you as a center of influence if you allow for that, right? If you provide them with that ability of knowing, hey, listen, I can help you out with an attorney, an event planner. Right? Your clients all have different businesses. Why not connect them and create that opportunity? Because it will happen, right? Reciprocity. You help somebody else, they're going to want to help you as well. So make sure you're using yourself in that manner as well. As we think about it, right, nowadays, I mean, shoot, this thing is basically part of our bodies at this point, right? Our cell phones and our businesses are being done through that. But remove obstacles from sharing your information. I know for myself, it's weird to say, but I have two profiles. Right, I have what's for my iCloud and Apple, right, my personal, and then I have essentially my business card saved on my contact. Where if John Doe wanted my information, I can shoot him a text and share my business contact information. he can save it. Now, it doesn't just stop there, right? If you have a website, you want to make sure that everything is connected. The number that's on the cell phone that you've shared, the email address, the actual physical address is all the same on your website. You want to make sure it's the same on your LinkedIn. Make sure your pictures are matching. Speaking of, I think I might need to change my picture now. I think it's about 3 years old. You know, I feel like I've aged like some fine wine, so I want to make sure that I'm showing that, right? But you know, you want to ensure that everything is matching. I will tell a quick story. Previous role was a manager. Looked at someone's LinkedIn. Looked like a young individual who was about in their 20s. Came in for the interview. The LinkedIn did not match the individual. When asked, "Oh, I haven't updated that since college." So, again, it was, we're expecting someone, you're expecting someone else. Now think about that from a client's perspective, right? You're just being talked about as a referral. They look you up on LinkedIn and they see one picture and they meet you, right? So again, you just want to be able to have these things connected. You want to make sure that it's up to date, much like anything else. You just want to keep up with the times. So we talked a little bit, right, from the psychology perspective of clients, right, the social benefit cost to it, talking about structure and repetition inside of your practice to help eliminate some of the anxieties and stresses that clients have. And now let's take it a step forward, right? You want to be able to provide, and it might sound silly, but even in client meetings, you want to be able to provide an experience that's worthy of when they leave, that they want to talk to somebody else about it. And the reason being is, as it relates to the referral process, are these two, right? The psychological need for us to feel as if we belong to a community, to a greater good, something bigger than us. It never hurts to have a pat on the back either, right? Attaboys, they go a long way. So as you think about how can I elevate my client experience? But it's really two things. Number one, you got to make it personal. I'm sure if I sat here and started talking about sports, some folks on this call would just be like, all right, I'm done. I'm over, right? Because it doesn't relate to you personally. And then second, if it's not personal and it's going to be impactful for them, right, is it worthy of speaking about? I'm sure you've all, right, been to those events. Well, we'll use birthday parties, right? The last birthday party I went to, it was a nice birthday party, right? 1-year-old birthday. It was very, very cool. Right? I still remember a colleague of mine. They had their birthday party at a farm. There's a tractor ride. They then had 3 ponies running around. I mean, right? That's something worthy of like, hey, that was a great place. That was fun. Still to, a year later, I'm still thinking about that birthday party. So you want to think about that for your clients as well. Is it something that maybe they wouldn't do themselves that you can create a memorable type of experience? Here's another poll, right? Which would you find more effective if you are including this inside your business practice, or as you think about it with your clients? Would they rather have something that's more personal and heartfelt, thoughtful, as opposed to a more memorable experience? So as you think of those two aspects of it, right, and creating an environment, an experience working with you that's worthy of being talked about, the old days of, hey, we're going to provide white glove service and, right, like a fine dining restaurant, that's the expectation nowadays. Your clients they're not just putting you up against other financial advisors. Unfortunately, we're all being paired against, right, every type of client experience. Going to Marriott, working to renting a car from Enterprise or Hertz, right? Traveling on an airline, things that I'm frequently doing, right? Those services, I pair them against each other all the time. Hence why, right, I'm a Marriott member, and that's a free little plug for Marriott. I don't get anything for that, but right, it's again, the experience and that service, it's the expectation, but that's not going to lead to good referrals. Is it going to help? Yeah. Is it going to hurt? You bet that it will. I feel like folks are more willing to talk about a bad experience than they are a really good one, right? So you just want to make sure that, hey, you're keeping up, you're having a great experience from the service perspective. Right? This one is huge, right? Schwab and these Fishers and these other areas, robo advisors, right? Low cost isn't always going to win. Just speaking to a member who is here, right? So many of these investments, they all have the same holdings, right? Just because it's low cost doesn't mean that it's much better. It's not necessarily going to provide you with what the client needs. So low cost doesn't always win. It doesn't always create referrals. Right? Clients have indicated, based on our survey, that their 80% of clients are willing to pay more for a better client experience. Clients are willing to pay more when they can understand the value behind what they're paying for. Favorite example is a car, right? If you have a BMW, a Lexus, a higher end vehicle, right? Why? Because there's a number of things that come with it. A number of service, right? The type of car, how it rides, maybe some of the other features that are involved into it. And you can get the same or very similar things with a 2015, right, Honda, but right, you are willing to pay more because you understand that, hey, I'm getting an elevated experience when I walk into a BMW dealership, when I walk into a Lexus dealership. So look, clients are the same way, right? They're willing to pay more for a better client experience, especially when it comes to their finances. Are you kidding? Right. So I mentioned this earlier. They're going to compare you to all of other elevated experiences, right? Outside of, right, the experience that they have when you're with them on a one-to-one, right? How do you make sure that you're being felt and seen even when you're kind of not with them, right? Are you able to redefine, as this mentions, right, significant moments? Are you sending out birthday cards? Are you sending out welcome letters and welcome gifts for folks that that you may be bringing on? Right, I love this one, right? Only 6 months until retirement, right? Are you creating these memorable moments for times where clients may not be thinking that it's something to celebrate? Folks that are still with you through retirement, hey, congratulations. These are all things that I'll tell you right now, Marriott's not doing, airlines aren't doing, other advisors, they are not doing the little simple things like this. I'd be interested to know, and if you want to write it in the chat, that'd be great. When's the last time you had a handwritten note? Right, last time I did this presentation 2 weeks ago, someone said 6 months. It was the only individual answer, right? It was 6 months since they received a handwritten note or handwritten card. All right, so like these are things that just, they're not happening anymore, but they're meaningful. To add into that, redefining these significant moments, right? The art of giving, it doesn't have to be anything that's expensive, that's extraordinary, but it's something that's thoughtful, right? And talking about this personal aspect, right? If you have avid book readers and they have a favorite author, I thought this was amazing. Buy 2 books, buy the same exact book to give to that client. And inside the margin of the book, right on that very first page, right, put in your information. Thanks for being a great client to one of them. And then, right, hope you enjoy this read in the other with your information. Now you're giving your clients the ability to say, wow, Sebastian was awesome for thinking of me and providing me with this book. And you know what? I have an extra copy. I know exactly who's going to book with me. You're just organically creating the opportunity to have a conversation. Hey, if you don't mind me asking, who'd you give that other book to, right? And now it's, again, a way to create dialogue. Maybe they're a hiker and you buy them a beanie hat, okay? If they're a gardener or a chef, like to be chef, if you will, right? Buying them some cooking utensils. Again, it's the thoughtful nature of the gift that matters most. and again, creates an elevated experience for the client. This is where I come in, right? The guy with the credit card. But no, hosting unique events. Not sure how many folks are going to the opera nowadays, but right, these types of experiences on the upper right-hand corner, right? These sip and paints. On the lower left-hand corner, bringing in a nutritionist and having clients come on in and flow through, right? You set up at a certain area, and now it's, hey, we're not just going to talk finances, but we're also going to talk health. And you have clients bring in other individuals, right, to come on in. Why not? Right. So you create these opportunities that show, hey, not only do I appreciate your business and being a client of ours, but I want to celebrate that. On the lower right-hand corner is, I mean, heck, I feel as if a lot of folks can fit in this seat, but right, understanding, utilizing AI, right, as part of our business practice, right? You bring in someone from Microsoft to talk about it, right? Or you bring in someone from Apple to talk about it. They hold classes, right? If you have an older book, maybe how to utilize and get the best out of their cell phone, right? So there's so many different things that you can do, but again, elevates the experience, shows clients that you appreciate them and what they're doing, and gives them a very, very natural way to invite someone else. That gives you that chance to have a conversation and create a referral. We always talk about right, being a part of the community and champion for a cause. Is a Habitat for Humanity. I wish there was beaches around here, but right, maybe a river cleanup, volunteering at a local soup kitchen, 5K charity event, right? What are your clients into, and how can you show that, hey, look, you're part of the community as well? It's again, a great, easy way for you to meet other individuals, because it'll happen. Hey, Steve, who was that with you? Oh, it was Sebastian, right? He came to help out. What does he do? Right, financial advisor for me. So it's these different ways that, again, you create these natural conversations. I love this one. Right, getting feedback, being coachable, understanding that, hey, I might be missing the mark, or maybe certain clients, they weigh certain things more than others, right? And what's an easy, non-invasive way to get that information? Doing a survey, right? After a client review, how was your experience? Were you offered this? Were you offered that? Did you enjoy? What was the most impactful part of our meeting, right? So you get some feedback to redefine, right, how to maybe interact with that individual. Just the reviews, right? Peer-to-peer reviews, team reviews. How do we want to move forward in terms of our client meetings, client experiences? At this one in the middle, I think is really, really cool and unique, right? The client advisory council. Do you have a group of long-lasting clients that, right, they all get together, and you can help to articulate that, to discuss different events, different things that they may want to see or that they may like. So again, it's just giving you that opportunity to kind of take a step back, reevaluate what you're doing to provide the best situations for your clients in your book. So this is probably the best and the most interesting piece, and what I'm sure all of you are here for. Right? But as we think about, from a psychological perspective, what the client's going to view, right? We think about the social benefits and understanding value versus cost. How do we elevate the client experience? Lastly, right, how do we reframe this ability to ask for a referral and do it in the right way to where clients, again, feel safe, comfortable, and heard, right? When you're belly to belly. So before we give you the magic, right? Does it look familiar? You're stumbling over your words. It's a little awkward. Or my favorite, hey, give me a call sometime, right? Passing over the business card. Right? This is the old way of doing a referral. And when we think about it, right, framing is going to matter. I ask the group, right, is this glass half full, glass half empty? Or now, right, the third answer I've heard is it's a glass with water, right? It is what it is, right? But framing and understanding that it's going to matter, I'm like a golden retriever, man. Like everything is great. Like I'm always just happy and optimist because it's just who I am, and that's the way in which I choose to frame it. But as we think about it from the referral aspect of things, old way is you benefit, client does the lifting, unclear how they benefit from. The new way, you both enjoy. You have the opportunity to help somebody else. Your client feels recognized. They understand that they are now a part of a greater good, a community, part of your team, and they're recognized for that with the ability to, again, go to unique events, the ability to have, right? And they don't necessarily even need to know this, but you can provide them with something that's personal and worth remark. So this is probably one of the most impactful ways, and through our study that we've seen of creating a referral. So remember old way, hey, do you know anybody? Anyone can use my services. Right? Is there a family member that you'd want to bring in next time? Instead, let's see how this changes it, right? One of the privileges I've enjoyed over the years is when one of my clients' friends calls me seeking a second opinion. I want you to know if one of your friends called me seeking a second opinion, I would immediately pause what I was doing and see if I could help. Most likely, all I do is confirm the path they're on can help to get them to their destination. But I've always been amazed how some minor corrections can lead to very major improvements down the road. You are creating this sense, this air of, look, I'm going to stop what I'm doing to make sure that I'm caring for them because you, as my client, matter. The fact you're taking time to have this individual reach out to me, I will make sure that I'm giving them my undivided attention. They're probably going to be okay, but you make one or two changes and you'll see how much it helps and improves their, whatever they're looking for, whether that's income, whether it's just growth, legacy, etc. Right? But again, it's not the full-blown ask and thrown onto the client. Or you're just changing, hey, listen, if they would like to, that's great. Just know if you did refer someone, I'll help. I'll stop what I'm doing to make sure that I help. Now, look, it doesn't just happen overnight, much like anything. I don't believe anybody came into this world as a financial professional and immediately, right, $200 million book of business within the first month. So much like anything, right, it's the fundamental aspects. Create a script, write it out, revise it, record yourself, right? Record yourself, practice it. See maybe where you need to have more voice inflection. All right. Next, it's repeat it, right? Constantly do it. Constantly do it. Right. The more that you repeat something, the better you get. We talked about that with in the last meeting about, right, mastering the client review. Right. The more you do it, the luckier you get, right? No, it's because you're getting better at it. It doesn't necessarily stop there. I mentioned before about the handwritten notes, right? It's a long time, generally speaking, that clients receive something like that. But when you can express your appreciation for them taking the time, right, that goes a long way. Again, goes to elevating their experience. Nowadays it's done online, a lot of it, right, via email. So ensure that you reach out to the client that made the referral, right? Ask them what they spoke about, right? Then you maybe speak to the referee. What were they informed, right? And then how can you really and truly help them? Right. So in a nutshell, kind of what we talked about, the psychology and how it's been complicated, right? All the social costs onto the clients. When you make it safe by having a proper space, understanding structure and repetition come into play for their psychological need and for their ability to be willing and wanting to go deeper. When you create an experience worth remark, something that they want to talk about and speak about to others, and then reframe the referral with confidence. Giving them that opportunity that, hey, look, if you do it, great. If you don't, great, right? It's not going to change our relationship. So I will stop and answer any questions, or would love to hear thoughts on one piece, a number of pieces in the presentation.
I'll give you one. You've mentioned the Roth IPA. Anything else that creative that you've come across from some of your advisors?
Not my advisors, but down in Kentucky, creating bottles of whiskey, much of the same. I don't know why, right? But somehow financial advising and alcohol go hand in hand. I don't know. No, there's something that I've been able to do is right, these big client events, right? And you keep it somewhat mysterious. So doing a baseball game with the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs with one of the groups in the ABE area, right? And it's a client-centered event. They told us sometimes there's been 10 guests, sometimes there's been about 30 guests, but it's right. You get a box, they invite their family, and it just creates that whole opportunity of, again, of look, we appreciate what you're doing, and obviously you get some repeatable customers, repeatable people, if you will, that are invited to those events. But yeah, there's so many different ways that you can do it. Just a matter of right how you want to build your book and what you want it to look like.
Looks like Jim might have something to say. Go ahead, Jim.
Quick question on client surveys. Do you have any templates, that advisors use on a regular basis, or they change them up, or are any are they short? Are they, is it 3 questions, 5 questions? Like, is there any sort of, length that gets to the heart of what you're trying to figure out?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't think you want to provide them an assessment, right? what we've come to see is the sweet spot's about 10, no more than 15. Right, you want it to for it to be something that's done fairly quick and easy, no more than about 4 or 5 minutes. You provide them the ability, right? The last question, much like if you think back to being in school, it's the open-ended. Is there anything else you'd like to add, right? If you could provide the ability for one thing that you would like to see changed, right? It just gives them that space if it's not answered in those first kind of I want to say call them cookie cutter, but more or less those cookie cutter questions. So it's, I've seen them, Jim, range from, right, were you offered a beverage when you walked in? How was the lighting? Were you comfortable? Would you rather be warmer or colder, right? Sliding scales. So, I mean, you really can get as granular as you'd like, but the advisors I've seen with the best practices, at least from my opinion, and right, shown in dollar amounts, but also in the way in which I'm treated, and I see them treat their clients, no more than 15 questions. I believe theirs was about 12, with the last 2 kind of being open-ended, just to talk about their experience that day, that time that they were doing it. And it was delivered after their annual review that was in person.
Okay, thanks. I mean, I just didn't know if you had any, if you've seen a group of questions in particular that seems to be.
Yeah, no, it's one group ran theirs off of a Survey Monkey. Another, one had it just as simple as a PDF, printout that was provided to the client, and there hasn't been anything that I've seen necessarily as a template. Next time I do come across, I can most certainly see what I can get my hands on there. But
And Jim, I know Cambridge has a template, so I can pull that and send it over to you.
Oh, great. All right.
We have some other files we could send your way.
Yeah, I would love to see that. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen them as small as like 4 questions too, which is.
I was thinking 5 to 7. If it's. But when you're talking about the client experience, I think there probably could be a few more.
Yeah.
So yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Anybody else? Comments, questions?
I got one more.
Okay.
All right, awesome. I'm going to share my screen here, folks, right? I would not be doing my job if I didn't talk about services that we provide and what we can do, right? So if I can figure out how to work this thing, look at that. Just as far as who we are, and I may have mentioned it, but those that may not have been on, look, right now we're in a, you want to call it a wild time. I think it's somewhat of a healthy time. To give you my own perspective, the market doesn't just always go up, as I'm sure a lot of us know that. But recently, our clients, they just feel that way, right? Recency bias. As we look at from 2000, and this is ending 2023, the S&P versus a 60-40 portfolio. And I'll mention to you why that's important. At the end of the day, what we're seeing is, which is kind of wild, a greater return from the 60-40 portfolio. Now, be it not a great and dramatic increase, okay, but you are talking about having 491 versus the 490. And the reason why it's important is, right, we've been so highly concentrated on the tech side, which everybody knows. And again, you want to continue to maintain those positions, but international has made a comeback. Right? You're starting to see some movement on the yield curve and on the treasuries, right, and fixed income. So even though the 60-40 is not attractive in a sense, when you look at the opportunity to benefit from positive markets, but more importantly, when you can reduce loss for clients, and that's where diversification is going to come into play, right? The ability to not participate in those big drops in the market, that's where you really make your hay and can show yourself, listen, this is the reason why you're working with me. Because if left your own devices, Mr. or Mrs. Client, you're probably buying at the wrong time where the markets are super high and selling at a low, which means you're locking in your losses. Here, me having access to what we have, ability to work with 1290, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, right? We can give you the opportunity to benefit from all market types and situations that you may not be privy to. Right? So who we are quickly, right? We're created from Equitable. We are the advisory side of it, asset management side. Again, we have institutional asset managers that we've brought down to the retail level, as low as $1,000 for our A and I share funds that are available on the Cambridge platform. Right? We have a dedicated team that works with these sub-advised partners, right, to ensure that they're meeting their requirements, whether that's in the high yield space, right, large cap value, large cap growth, small mid cap, whatever and wherever it is. And you have access to folks like myself, where we can provide you insight, the ability to talk to these portfolio managers that are ensconced inside of their areas of expertise to make sure that we're giving you the best opportunity to benefit from the market environment. Right. So 1290 is a part of this Equitable Investment Management group, right? Folks, they like to see that teams have been around for a long time, right? So we've been around since the late 90s, right? Roughly, right? 60 fund professionals averaging 20 years. So, right, these folks know what they're doing. And these are our sub-advised partners that we have access to, right? And some pretty big names managing a whole bunch of assets for us. And today I want to talk about just a couple because, right, there has been that switch, that move to international. Okay. And while there is still opportunity there, I want to make sure that we don't lose sight of what's gotten us to where we're at, which is the domestic ride. So I think a healthy exposure to both international and domestic is going to be beneficial. So if I can, I'm going to give you just a couple of funds that have really been hitting. This is our Loomis Sales multi-asset income. What this is going to provide you is the ability to, much like a PIMCO income or Franklin income fund, it's going to give you 3 different investment strategies: dividend paying equities, it's going to give you traditional fixed income vehicles, and then hybrids, right? Convertibles. There's also a buy right strategy versus the S&P to provide some hedging protection on the equity side. But this isn't just done on the domestic front. We are using international exposure both on the equity and the fixed income side, to benefit from these markets. This fund is mandated or is created to navigate yield on your behalf, both in the equities and the fixed income space. And over the last 2 years since taking over this fund, their distribution for year end has been around 6%. They have to have, the mandate shows that they have to provide a 4% yield, but they've been around 6% the last 2 years. Right? And this year, they're on track to continue that plus 5% distribution nature. Now, for those of you that you enjoy stars, right, this is a 5-star rated fund, a top fund inside of its category. You can utilize this in 3 different ways. Number one is an income-only play, as I mentioned, using the equities, the fixed income, to provide you that consistent distribution strategy with the buy right. That's monthly premiums that are coming in that can then be distributed out towards the end of the year, creating a little Christmas pop, if you will. Secondly, it can be used as a core strategy, right? Being truly in that 50-50 realm of equity fixed income gives you the nature to build around it, whether that's with ETFs to lower overall costs, create liquidity, or utilizing other mutual funds to get that managed, active management on clients' investments in certain areas and sectors. So again, as an income standalone, as a core strategy, last as an earner, right? In terms of its performance, this has been a solid performer over the 3-year. You're talking over 5%. So if we can give you a 5% distribution and you're gaining 5%, I'm no mathematician and my shoes are still on and I could do this, right? If I give you 5, we're earning 5, you're remaining flat. So it's a great opportunity to, once again, provide the sustainable income that clients might be looking for, giving overall domestic and international exposure without eating too far into the principal. I'll go with one more asset that I think is something to look at, and that's our smart beta. Right, this is run by AXA IM, a 4-star fund in its top quartile, TNBIX. What this is going to provide is a global investment strategy. Again, maintaining North America, 70% is going to be domestic, US. That 8% is going to be split between the remaining North American countries. You then have exposure internationally to Europe, to Asia Pacific. That is not a great amount, but does provide you the ability to benefit from those other market spaces. This fund is aimed to outperform the MSCI ACWI, its benchmark, by 1 to 2%, while taking on 80% of the volatility. Focused on high quality, low volatility in the large blended space. I know performance isn't everything, but when we look back 10 years to be up 142, if I were to ask all of you on this call, Mr. and Mrs., if you can take 14% rate of return over a 10-year span as your average, would that be acceptable for you in your equity space? Right? It's a ballast to a portfolio. You want to be a little more aggressive, add some growth to this, right? This is designed to create that balance for times like this, to where you can benefit from these rockier, volatile investments, investing times. Last one that I would like to share with all of you. This one, here we go. This is our diversified bond. This was our flagship over the last couple of years, and it's because it's very contrarian, right? So this is run by Brandywine, and this is going to provide you a very unique investment strategy inside of fixed income. This pairs extremely well to a bland fixed income fund. Going to provide a little bit more alpha in the fixed income space. They rely on three things: country, currency, and conviction. From the country perspective, this is a core plus is what we call it. Your typical core plus fixed income is going to be domestic, 80% with 20%, and the plus for the international space. TNUIX, this Brandywine fund, actually is 60% in the domestic with 40% on the plus side on the international space and other areas. So from the country perspective, a little different. Again, pairing great with the bag. Right? When you move it to the currency aspect, they have the ability to purchase fixed income debts in that country's currency if they see that's advantageous and provides them a better deal. Also, they have unique areas where they can short certain positions in cash. As an example, they shorted the Japanese 10-year 2 years ago as rates were negative and at zero. All right. And they had a nice little pop, nice little hit there. So they have the ability to do these, again, leading to the third C, country, currency, conviction, these kind of contrarian viewpoints as it relates to currency and fixed income. And they're going to stick to their positions in their ways. Right. So for them in particular, right now, as they're seeing it, right, they're very much on the conservative side. I'm not saying the sky is falling just yet, but they're going to fall in that space at the current moment. They've been able to benefit from the movement inside of the 10-year, right? On the fixed income side, over a 5-year span, to have nearly, right, just under 5% average return, right? They had a huge move up 31% to close out 2020, right? For a fixed income. I mean, that's wild and unheard of. So again, it's a little different view that does give you some opportunity in the international space as well that I wanted to make sure I shared. We're 1 minute to. I want to thank you all for the opportunity. I will have a follow-up that'll be sent out to the whole team. I'll be reaching out to each and every single one of you. Would love for 10, 15 minutes to be able to talk about how we can help you in your practice. And please don't be a stranger. Reach out to me. I was just telling Sebastian, right? A couple years in this territory, this bald head ain't going anywhere. So call me up and we'll love to be able to chat with all of you.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks for doing both of these presentations. They were both fantastic. As Steve said, he'll send follow-up. We'll also get the recording and the materials out as well. But thanks everybody for participating. Pick up Steve's phone call or answer his email when he reaches out. As you can see, he's got a nice product lineup and he's a great guy on top of that. So with that, we'll end this call and everybody enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for being on today.